All right, hello there, welcome back to another wee bit of a video. Today's video, I'm so excited to make this video. Gonna be very, very informative. What is a gather step? What is a travel in the NBA? There is this huge just misunderstanding of what travels are. Now, what sparked this conversation for me, or this topic for me, is first and foremost, this Giannis play, which we'll get to, this Grayson Allen play, which we'll get to. But it all starts with this. Before we actually get into the whole video, I don't want this to be a condescending kind of thing where I'm looking down on others or others are getting mad at me because I'm, defending the rule. I'm not defending the rule. I'm simply just explaining why the refs call certain things to travel and other things to travel. So don't shoot the messenger. I'm not necessarily a fan of how much leeway players are given, but this is the current state of the NBA. And I think it's just better if we all understand why refs call certain things the way they do. But let's check this video out here, because what's a rule NBA referees wish fans understood better?
Traveling. I wish the fans understood the traveling rules. Just because it looks ugly does not mean it's a travel.
Traveling. I mean, like,
when it's a foul against your team and you see the replay and there's contact on the play you could clearly see and you still boo, I wish you would understand that is a foul.
And the players in the NBA work on their craft, and more times than not.
I think a key highlight in that, and I'm going to interrupt real quick, is the NBA players work on their craft. So your average person, what you're seeing on the TV and it looks like a travel, your average person can't replicate the footwork that it takes to do what they do. And I think that's something that's very important to highlight before we get into the rule and whatnot. But craft is a key word here.
Craft, and more times than not, it's not a travel.
the gather step is hard for people to understand because the high school rule is different, and so is the college rule.
When you hear someone say, that's traveling, and we know when the person gathers the ball, not to say that we don't miss those things, but I think they do a really good job now of getting things out to people. The announcers do a better job of getting things out to people, so it makes it easier for us.
Honestly, a big reason why I'm even making this video is because, just like Tony Brothers mentioned, they do a good job of getting things out. When I typed in on YouTube, what is a traveling rule? All the videos were not great. The most recent one I found was 2 years ago, and it was a LeBron hate video more than it really was about traveling, and it didn't really explain traveling very well because the person still didn't understand what traveling was. So the whole point of this is, I understand most of us, no, let's be honest, 99% of us who play basketball don't make it to the NBA, so we don't go by their rules. We go by the rules in high school and in college. Well, the important thing here is NBA has this gather step rule. What is the gather step rule? Let's take a quick look. When a player receives the ball or ends a dribble, they get one gather step. Once you have your hand under the ball, I should probably, I'm going to grab a prop. So something to watch out for in games is when a player has the ball underneath, or their hand underneath the ball, that ends the dribble. So once you see this, the gather commences. Also, when you see two hands on the ball, the gather will commence. So that first step that you see is not really a step. That's the gather step, step 0. And then you get the 1, 2. Now, the thing that still carries over is the pivot foot. Once you are stopped, you have a foot that you cannot lift off the floor. When a player lands and touches the floor with one foot, lifting it before dribbling, passing, or shooting is illegal. So that's the pivot foot. That still stays, of course. So in theory, that sounds pretty simple, but in practice, players can get wicked with it. Now, I'm going to play this clip, and let me remind you, when I first saw this video, I also thought it was a travel. So, it's nothing against anyone. It's just, the reality is, players, going back to early in the video, they have their craft. So let's check this out. Travel or no? Giannis is dribbling. Okay, ball, his hand is not underneath the ball yet. He's still in the dribble phase. He hasn't gathered, he hasn't done anything yet. So what does he do that makes people think it's a travel? Well, he takes these 3 steps, but the problem is the ball's still moving. And for as long as the ball moves until the ball comes to a stop, this is all legal. So he's still moving, and now he palms the ball. So again, all this is legal, and until he palms the ball now. So right here, here's where the gather starts. The ball is at a stop. The ball is not moving. that is key here, and then a 1, 2, 3, right? And then you're thinking, well, that's still 3 steps. Unfortunately, it's wrong, right? I'm not saying this because I'm loving the rule or I hate the rule. I'm simply just telling you what the rule is. You get 3 steps. You get to gather. So watch again. We'll go over this one more time just in case this is a little bit confusing. This is the key thing to remember here. The gather is defined as the point where the player gains enough control of the ball to hold it. So Giannis is doing no holding, and we'll go bigger screen here. Giannis is not holding anything. He's not holding the ball. So he's dribbling. The ball's still in movement. He's not holding it. The ball's still in movement. Now we start. 1, 2, 3. That's simply just the gather. 1, 2, and 3. But you look at this in just a full sequence and you're like, well, that's a travel. Nope. Yes. 1, 2, 3. Again, the gather rule. So I also thought this was a travel. It's not. By rule, it's not. Then if you don't like to take my word for it and you don't want to read the rules, here's another brief explanation. So let's check this video out real quick. Clip credit goes to real quick Road Trip and Show. So yeah, watch this clip real quick.
And then I need you guys to explain this to me for someone who's played basketball her entire life.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1.
That's a gather. It's a gather.
I know, that's what
You're not
I
being
said.
heard. You're not being
Gather.
heard.
That's what I said.
Okay. Are these refs
No, that's a gather.
straight tripping?
No, it's a gather.
Explain it to
Until he
me.
puts 2 hands on the ball, that's considered his gather.
That's when the 2 steps start.
That's when it starts.
You get 9 steps to put 2 hands on the ball?
Let me show you. You can do this.
That looks exhausting.
It is exhausting, but I'm saying it's
It's
weird.
9
No,
millimeters.
but I'm saying it's weird because you can dribble and do this.
That boy getting his feet out.
But once you go and grab that ball, that's when it stops. That's all he's doing. He's basically dribbling it up and tapping his feet a bunch of times. You can do that as long as the ball doesn't stop. As long as you don't bring the ball underneath, right? So the ball's not underneath his hand. So anything right now,
It's still
now
good.
it starts. When
Now
he
it's-
gathers, I'm telling
It
you.
looks-
This rule
It is-
needs to change.
Because it can't, because of the way it goes. You can't change that rule. Watch, unless the ball comes to a stop. Right here, he's doing what I just showed. That stutter step. Now that's again. Now that's it. The 1, 2 is when it starts.
It's not.
It's the rule.
Exactly what I
Alex.
said.
So
technically,
by the
Okay.
So, and it's just important to note this. That is not a travel. 1, 2. This technique on Giannis's part is actually quite impressive because he realizes when he starts the gather versus the stutter step prior. So, yeah, does it look ugly? Absolutely. Is it a travel? By rule, is it a travel in the NBA? No. Do you have to like it? No, you don't have to like this. You know, this isn't something that you have to look at and say, well, I guess I have to love it. You don't have to love it. You know, there are things in the NFL by rule that you might not like. There are things in the NBA like this by rule that you might not like. And again, that's your opinion, and I can have my opinion, and this next person can have their opinion. But again, just by rule, it's not a travel.
It doesn't start
until he puts
until
that
right
second-
now. That's
Are
when
we,
it starts.
are we taught this as
Yes.
children?
No.
We're taught that this is okay as
No,
You're not
no,
taught like-
no.
No, that's you have to have a unique ability.
That is travel in youth league, AU, high school,
Yes,
college.
because you're not like.
And that's important too, is the way we play basketball. That is a travel. Absolutely, it's a travel. But again, the NBA rule is different. You know, just like in high school football, college football, 1 step in bounds is a catch. In NFL, it's 2 steps. 2 steps in bounds is a catch. But it's an easy enough rule for people to understand so they don't riot. This rule, it's a bit more, again, people can be creative with it, like Giannis here. And it's just confusing at times, but it's not as controversial as some people would like to believe just because it's a concrete by rule. No, it's not a travel. And again, that can get clouded a bit. And I'm going to show you another clip here, right? This is the next clip that we're going to watch here. Okay, so I'm going to play this clip. I'm not going to tell you if it's a travel or not. You tell me first, and then I'll explain if it's a travel or not. Okay. Do you think that's a travel? For those of you that are team that's a travel, you're right. It is a travel, but not because of the way you think. And let me explain. It is a travel though, but again, not because of the way you would think it is. Let's elaborate here. So, Grayson Allen, what he's doing here is a very long step back, but he hasn't gathered the ball yet. Not a gather. Not a gather. Now he's gathered. So now this is where we start the counting of the steps. 1, 2, 3. Not a travel, right? Right? That part of it is not a travel. The reason why this is a travel, and I'm going to show you right here, is because he's stopped. And you can still stop and take your step, but you have to maintain your pivot foot. And if you watch closely, Grayson Allen actually lifts his pivot foot. So watch right here. Look at that. He took a slight movement on the pivot. So let's watch it one more time. Look at his right foot. It slightly just little hop. It raises, and that's illegal. Right there. You can't move your pivot foot. Therefore, now it's a travel. Before that, though, it wasn't. If he would have held his pivot foot down, that wouldn't have been a travel. And now also, you might be like, wait, how does that make sense? When does the gather start? So no gather. So now to me, it starts here. But again, the camera angle, you can't really see if his right hand's on it beforehand. But assuming it's right here, the refs would have made the right call. 1, 2, 3. But again, he lifts his pivot foot. If you watch again, just because why not? Lifts the pivot foot. Can't do that right there. Can't do that. Can't be lifting the pivot foot. But yeah, I know it might be frustrating for a lot of you people at home thinking, wow, these rules kind of suck. Or maybe some of you are like, oh, I already knew this. I already knew that was a travel or not a travel, and I know the rules. And in all honesty, I think this video is just necessary because I have yet to, I could not find one. I could not find one on YouTube that explained pretty thoroughly. If I gave a good explanation, great. If I didn't, I highly suggest you just watch this video one more time. Road trip and show. Pretty straightforward. The rules are there for everyone to see. And then if you want examples, again, of what's a travel and what's not, this is not a travel. And if you look at the comments, the thing is, if you look at the comments, he went to Grayson back, traveling through space and time. Dude traveled to the past. These refs are in the circle with Chauncey and Terry. Again, people genuinely just don't know that this is not a travel. And I'm not gonna lie, I was among that group, but it comes to a point where you kind of just gotta, when you watch the NBA so much and then you see so much commenting and then you see the refs video or like, no, people don't understand the travel, it made me just be like, well, maybe I do want to understand. I greatly appreciate you guys for watching. Hopefully you now understand what a travel is in the NBA. What's important to remember is there is a gather step. The gather step is important. It gives you 3 steps after the ball stops, right? Whether you put your hand underneath the ball like this, like so, or 2 hands on the ball, then the gather starts. That's when you get your 3 steps. And again, you can take your steps and stop. You can take your steps and pass. You can take your steps and shoot. The one thing you can't do is lift your pivot foot. In the first clip, clear-cut example of what a gather is and how it's not a travel. In the second clip, the angle will lead you, to come possibly to different conclusions, but just from probably what the refs saw, they probably saw that gather 1, 2, 3, and then they clearly missed the pivot foot moving illegally, which again, if you answered correctly, you answered correctly. If you answered incorrectly, yeah, it's pretty obvious that he moved his pivot foot. Again, though, I greatly appreciate you guys for watching. For like, subscribe if you learned anything. It goes a long way to subscribe for this channel. This is All Even Different. All We've Been Different. And we out.